Hot Gorilla Audio Tale Series Number 2, The Sidekick. Written by Joseph Raines. Based on original characters from the imagination of Keenan Rice. The homeless camp wasn't much to look at, but to Hot Gorilla, it was paradise compared to the government lab he had escaped from 6 months ago. Here, under the overpass, no one cared that he was a 7-foot-tall, muscle-bound gorilla with floppy pink bunny ears. Sure, they stared at first. But after he snapped a dumpster in half during a heated argument with a raccoon, they mostly left him alone. Except Carl. Carl was the camp's self-proclaimed mayor, a wiry man with a scraggly beard and a never-ending supply of enthusiasm. He was the kind of guy who could make friends with a brick wall, and despite Hot Gorilla's best efforts to ignore him, Carl seemed determined to forge a partnership. "Listen, man," Carl said one evening as they huddled around a burn barrel. The firelight danced in his eyes, and he gestured wildly with a half-empty can of beer. "You've got superpowers. You're huge. You've got those, He paused, eyeing Hot Gorilla's ears. "Distinctive features." Hot Gorilla snorted, leaning back against the remains of a shopping cart he'd turned into a chair. "Distinctive features? Just say it, Carl. My ears are sexy. Everybody thinks so." Carl blinked. Sure, sexy. Whatever. My point is, you should be doing something with your abilities. You could be a hero." "A hero?" Hot Gorilla raised a brow, his golden eyes glinting in the firelight. "Carl, I live under a bridge. I eat cold-canned ravioli and chase pigeons for fun. I'm about as heroic as a drunk Santa Claus." Carl leaned closer, his breath reeking of cheap whiskey. "That's exactly why you should do it. You're already at rock bottom. What have you got to lose?" "Dignity," Hot Gorilla said flatly. Carl ignored him, pacing back and forth as if delivering a TED Talk to an audience of one. "Think about it. You could stop muggers, rescue old ladies, beat up drug dealers. People would love you. And with me as your sidekick, we'd be unstoppable." Hot Gorilla raised a massive hand. "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sidekick? Who said anything about a sidekick?" "Come on, every hero needs a sidekick," Carl said, grinning. "Batman has Robin. Iron Man has, that robot guy. I could be your guy." "You?" Hot Gorilla laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed under the overpass. "Carl, you can barely walk in a straight line, let alone fight crime." "I'm scrappy," Carl insisted, shadowboxing with exaggerated movements. "I've been in like 3 bar fights. One of them I almost won." "Yeah? What did you win? A nap on the floor?" Hot Gorilla smirked, but Carl's enthusiasm was infectious. He leaned forward, his floppy ears twitching as he considered the idea. "All right, let's say I do this hero thing. What do I even call myself?" "You've already got a great name," Carl said. "Hot Gorilla, it's perfect." "Damn right it is," Hot Gorilla said, flexing his biceps for emphasis. "But if I'm doing this, we're doing it my way. No tights, no cheesy catchphrases, and absolutely no hugging." Carl threw up his hands. "Deal." "So, where do we start?" Their first attempt at crime fighting was rocky. It started with Carl pointing out a guy stealing a bike from outside a liquor store. Hot Gorilla approached the thief, his massive frame casting a shadow over the sidewalk. "Hey, buddy," he said, crossing his arms. "What you doing?" The thief turned, his jaw dropping at the sight of the 7-foot gorilla with pink bunny ears. "What the fuck are—" Before he could finish, Hot Gorilla grabbed the bike and lifted it over his head like it weighed nothing. "This yours?" The thief nodded nervously, sweat dripping down his face. Yeah." "Wrong answer." Hot Gorilla tossed the bike into the air, letting it land with a crunch several feet away. "Stealing's bad, kid. Go get a job." The thief ran off without a word, and Carl clapped his hands in triumph. "See? That was amazing." Hot Gorilla rolled his eyes. "Yeah, real heroic. I scared a guy in flip-flops. Somebody call the Justice League." Over the next few days, they started to get the hang of it. Hot Gorilla developed a system. Carl would wander around town, eavesdropping for trouble while Hot Gorilla hung back to avoid causing a scene. When Carl spotted something, he'd signal Hot Gorilla by waving his arms like a lunatic. It wasn't glamorous work, breaking up bar fights, chasing down purse snatchers, stopping the occasional drunk driver, but Hot Gorilla had to admit it felt satisfying. There was something cathartic about tossing a would-be mugger into a dumpster or smashing a getaway car's engine block with his bare hands. Still, he kept his signature sarcasm intact. One night, they came across a group of teenagers spray-painting graffiti on a convenience store wall. Hot Gorilla towered over them, his bunny ears twitching as he looked down at their cans of paint. "Wow," he said, deadpan. "You guys are real rebels. Tagging a 7-Eleven. Watch out, society. These kids mean business." The teenagers scattered, dropping their paint cans as they ran. Carl picked one up and examined the label. "Huh, neon green. Bold choice." "You think?" Hot Gorilla said, rubbing his chin. "Maybe I should paint the camp. Really spruce up the place." Despite the occasional hiccup, their reputation began to grow. Word spread about the giant gorilla with the bunny ears and his scrappy human sidekick. People started leaving notes and small tokens of appreciation at the homeless camp. A loaf of bread here, a 6-pack of beer there. Carl, of course, loved the attention. "We're legends, man. People are starting to recognize us." "Yeah, because I'm the size of a truck and you scream like a banshee every time you see a crime," Hot Gorilla said, tossing a bag of chips Carl had brought back from their latest donation. "You're welcome," Carl said, munching on a stale donut. "By the way, we need to come up with a name for me." Hot Gorilla groaned. "Why? You're just Carl. Carl's fine." "No, no, no," Carl said, waving his hands. "If I'm going to be your sidekick, I need a superhero name, something badass, something that strikes fear into the hearts of villains." Hot Gorilla raised a brow. "Oh, this ought to be good. Hit me." Carl stood dramatically, striking a pose that looked more like a yoga stretch gone wrong. "Dark Avenger." Hot Gorilla blinked. "Dark Avenger? What are you, a Hot Topic cashier?" "Okay, fine," Carl said, frowning. "What about Shadow Knight?" "Shadow Knight? Jesus, Carl, I said scarier, not cringier." "Well, Mr. Big Ears," Carl shot back, crossing his arms, "why don't you come up with something better?" Hot Gorilla leaned forward, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "All right. You want a name that strikes fear into the hearts of villains? Something terrifying?" Carl nodded eagerly. "Yeah, let's hear it." Hot Gorilla's grin widened. "Steve." Carl stared at him. "Steve." "Yeah, Steve," Hot Gorilla said, his voice dripping with mock seriousness. "Think about it. You're a criminal. You hear someone's after you and his name's Steve. You'd shit yourself." Carl burst out laughing, doubling over as tears streamed down his face. "Steve? You're kidding, right?" "Dead serious," Hot Gorilla said, leaning back with a smug expression. "You want to strike fear? You go simple. Steve's the kind of name that gets results." Carl wiped his eyes, still chuckling. "All right, fine. Steve it is. But you owe me a cape." "No capes," Hot Gorilla said, wagging a finger. "You're clumsy enough without getting strangled by your own wardrobe." And thus the legend of Hot Gorilla and his terrifying sidekick Steve was born. A crime-fighting duo unlike any the city had ever seen.